the Ferrari Purosangue. At over £315,000, it's way out of reach for most of us. But what if you're wanting a car a bit like that, for a fraction of the price? What if I told you you can get a very similar car for around £45,000? Well, you think I'm mad? There's one coming along right now. First things first, performance. This thing is packing the same 2.9 litre Alfa V6 that you'll find in the Giulia Quadrifoglio. It's pumping out the same horsepower at over 500 horsepower, and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. Now, many people will have seen my review the last time, and that was on the Giulia Quadrifoglio. And this car has been kindly lent to me by the same guy that owns that car as well. What a two-car garage. A Giulia and a Stelvio. Unbelievable. And while a lot of people may think that because they've got the same engine, they've got the same power, they must feel pretty much identical on the road. And you'd be completely mistaken. These two cars couldn't be more different. Yes, they do sound the same, and the performance is similar. They feel completely different. If anything, the Stelvio feels a little bit more wild. With its four-wheel drive and put into race mode, which turns off the traction control and stability control, it feels really alive, and for an SUV, it's remarkable. So let's talk performance. This car's 2.9 litre V6 can haul the car from 0 to 62 in just 3.8 seconds. 3.8 seconds. I'll let that sink in. This is a 2-ton SUV with the performance of a supercar from the mid-noughties. 3.8 seconds. Not only that, but it will go on to a top speed of over 170 miles an hour. And although I've only driven it on the public road, I can categorically say it will definitely achieve that. This car is more than enough power for the road, if anything, too powerful. 500 horsepower in a car like this seems a little bit silly. But there's one major difference between this and the Giulia, and that is its four-wheel drive system. So this car has a full all-wheel drive system being sent to the wheels via an 8-speed ZF gearbox. The Giulia had the same gearbox, same engine, but it was rear-wheel drive. And because it wasn't my own car, and because it wasn't a press car, I left it in normal mode. A lot of you kicked off in the comments and said, well, you haven't really truly driven it until you've put it in race mode. And they feel completely different. And you'd be right. It turns off the traction control, turns off the stability control, and lets you have full reign of that 2.9 litre V6. Not only that, but it opens the exhaust valve so you can hear the engine that bit better. Thankfully, the owner of this car has fitted valves to the exhaust so he can have them open when the car is in its normal modes, which is great, because not every day you want to drive around without your traction control on, especially when it's icy. But because this car is four-wheel drive, because I feel very confident in it, it gives you a lot of confidence. It holds the road like, it's like glued to the road. I've been able to put it in race mode and really push it. If I'd put the Giulia into race mode, yes, it would have felt like a completely different beast. But I'm so thankful that I was able to finally experience race mode like all of you said I should, in a much more safe environment. This car is sat on winter tyres, which is appropriate because it's only 3 degrees today. And they grip up nicely. And even in race mode, the car still gives you tons of traction. It's unbelievable in the bends. The thing that the race mode does is it deactivates all the car's clever computer software that decides to do things for you. And it lets you have full control. And it does give so much more confidence. Straight out of that bend, flat in second gear. That's a hairpin bend, second gear, it's greasy, it's cold. It just gave me every single one of those 500 horsepowers and deployed them perfectly. Hauls you up hills like you would not believe. But that's performance aside. You kind of expect that. Anyone who knows the Quadrifoglio badge will know that these cars are insanely powerful and fun performance vehicles. But the thing that really interests me is that this is also very practical. Now, when I left the Giulia review, I was straight onto Auto Trader, looking at how I could possibly get my hands on one, whether or not I could replace the Cayman for a Giulia. It would make a good family car. It's got 4 doors and a boot. But the issue with saloon cars, they're not all that practical. You can't really get prams in the boot. And although it's a really big car, it wasn't that spacious inside. This, however, now this appeals to me. Not only has it got 4-wheel drive, so stick a set of winter tyres on and you're driving through the snow, but it's also got a big boot for a pram or a dog. 5 doors. And it's super practical. And not only that, it's so comfortable. The extra ride height this car gives means it has a level of suppleness you don't get from the Giulia. The Giulia feels a lot more like a race car. This is more like a luxury GT car, albeit with quite a raging 2.9 litre V6 in it. So why have I compared this car to a Ferrari Purosangue? I know it's going to cause a lot of people to jump in the comments and say you're being absolutely crazy, but bear with me. You have to remember they're both Italian cars, they're both gorgeous to look at, both SUVs, and they both have a Ferrari engine. Yes, if you didn't already know, this is actually a Ferrari-derived V6. What it actually is one of Ferrari's V8s with 2 cylinders taken off it. But it's still a Ferrari engine, or it's as close to a Ferrari engine as you're going to get for this kind of money. And talking about money, when these cars launched, they were close to £80,000. In traditional Alfa fashion, they've devalued a bit since then. And one like this, a 2021 plate, can be picked up for as little as £45,000. This car is still in its warranty, and it's 45 grand for a Ferrari drive V6 in a super SUV platform. What's not to like? One thing I read about on these cars before I came today was about the build quality. Well, I have to say, I don't know what they were talking about. This is a 2021 plate, it's not even the newest car. The build quality in here is perfectly acceptable. Yes, the infotainment is old and everyone tells you all about that, but all the real carbon fibre dotted around the place, the gorgeous leather, and these stunning, comfortable and bucketed seats mean it's a really nice place to sit. There's no rattles, no squeaks, and everything works. The cockpit has got an old school vibe about it. I love that. It's not filled with TFT monitors like in the new M cars. It's sort of as cars used to be before everything sort of started to go a bit digital and a bit rubbish. It's even got analog dials. Analog dials need to make a comeback because I'm sick of TFT monitors everywhere. It's really nice to have a set of really nice clear dials like in this. And I'm going to mention it again. I mentioned it in the Giulia, and because they are very similar, it's got the same wheel, of course. It's even got the same paddles. They're cold to the touch, these aluminium paddles, and oh, you have to experience them to believe what I'm on about. The tactility of the gearbox in this, despite being a ZF gearbox, which isn't without its faults, it's super responsive. Gear changes come exactly when you want them. There's a nice little crackle from the exhaust every time you change gear. This thing just never breaks traction. Bearing in mind I'm in race mode, it's damp today, it's frosty, there's actually frost on the road. It's not breaking traction. The Giulia Quadrifoglio would have been in a ditch by now. And that's where this differs. I just think this offers you a level of accessibility to that horsepower that the Giulia simply doesn't. Yes, on a nice twisty road, the Giulia would outperform it pretty much in every scenario. But what this does is it brings that performance to the masses and allows idiots like me to experience all of that power without much of the risk. So I think we have to talk about the way this thing looks, because it's absolutely sensational. Look at it in this blue colour, in the sunlight. I know it's got a little bit of dirt on it, but wow, doesn't that colour pop? The lines on the car are absolutely gorgeous as well. It makes it look like nothing else on the road. It's totally unique, but predictably Alfa. You look at it and it's an Alfa. It's got the 4 exhausts on the back, it's got the gorgeous headlights. The whole thing, the design of this car, they've got it absolutely spot on. And although I do like the way a Porsche Macan looks and the way a Porsche Cayenne looks, line them all next to each other, and this thing's head and shoulders above the rest. A lot of manufacturers have had a go at making nice looking SUVs, and I think a lot of them have succeeded. Some of them have struggled. The Aston Martin DBX, for example, is just disgusting. Alfa's proving that you can make anything look gorgeous, and this one is no exception. It doesn't feel like a standard type of SUV, a big, high-bodied version of a regular car with a massive lump of an engine in it. It doesn't feel like that at all. It offers a delicate drive, some precision that you don't get from any other SUV, and also a level of engagement and fun that I've not come across yet. For me, the only slight negative with this car is quite simply the exhaust. For me, it's just not loud enough. And I've said that before, and I said that in the Giulia review as well. That could easily be fixed with a performance exhaust. These cars have simply got the standard exhaust with a valve. And although they sound good, and they do sound good from the outside, because when I've done some drive-bys and listened to it back, I thought, oh, maybe I was wrong. But from the inside, especially in the Stelvio, it's very muted. So it would be nice to have a little bit more noise, maybe just on the valve, so you could quieten it off. Because at the end of the day, this is the sort of car you're going to use every single day. I definitely could daily one of these. It ticks every single box for me in a car. Oh, I think I've got a problem. I think I really, really want a Stelvio now. So, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Would I recommend that you buy one? And would I even consider swapping my Cayman for one? Well, I have to say, I'm going to be going on Auto Trader when I get in. This car has blown me away. It's exceeded all my expectations. After driving the Giulia, I can't imagine how this could be any better. And for me, everything the Giulia isn't, the Stelvio is. It's more accessible, it's more practical, and I think it's also a tiny bit better looking. Hate me in the comments for that one. But if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for plenty more videos like this one to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.